Remove the thrust metal. The thrust metal is equipped in the front and the rear of the first main bearing cap at the flywheel side. It is possible to remove both of upper and lower thrust metals with drawing out the first main bearing cap by hand in the same procedure as before. Check the removed parts. Check the contact on the rear and mating surface of each metal, and also check for cracks, seizure, and embedded foreign matters on the surface of each metal. Measure the metal thickness under the instruction, and if it exceeds the limit, replace the metals. Replace the necessary parts after checking and then assemble it. Incorporate each one of the upper and lower thrust metals of the frontal and rear parts at the respective former point, not mistaking one for the other. Match the print marking of upper metal to the cylinder block side and assemble it along the crankshaft. Mate the groove with the crankshaft side and incorporate the lower metal. Regarding the assembly of the main bearing, turn the flywheel to lower the oil hole in the crankshaft below the center of crankshaft. Direct the pawl of the upper metal toward the non-operating side and insert the upper metal along the crankshaft. Position the upper metal in the forward-backward direction so that its pawl will mate with the pawl hole in the cylinder block. Attach the inserting implement of upper metal to the main bearing cap. At this time, attach the implement, mating its one curved end with the outer periphery of a main bearing cap clamping bolt on the operating side and aligning the other step end with the inner periphery of main bearing cap. Fit the attaching pin to the oil hole of crankshaft at non-operating side by the grease. Screw the circular nut to hold the main bearing cap until just before the inserting tool and the rear of metal will be touched. Turn the flywheel in a direction reverse to the direction of engine rotation. When the pawl of the metal has been aligned with the pawl hole in the crankshaft, continue turning the flywheel until the metal end aligns with the cylinder block end. Installation of upper metal will be completed. Loosen the circular nuts of holding tool to lower the main bearing cap. Remove the metal detaching pin and metal inserting implement. Incorporate the lower metal to the cap. Afterwards, tighten the circular nuts of holding tool and remove the holding bolts. Fit the tightening nuts of main bearing cap and fasten them until its cap makes a close contact with the cylinder block. Tighten the side bolt on the non-operating side to half of the specified torque. Tighten the side bolt on the operating side to its seating by hand. Set the hydraulic jack to tightening nut of main bearing cap and fasten it by specified hydraulic pressure. Finally, tighten the bolts on non-operating and operating side by the specified torque. After overhauling the main bearing metal, measure the deflection of crankshaft and thrust clearance. I'll explain here how to measure the clearance of thrust. Fix the stand of dial gauge to the cylinder block and contact the dial gauge with crankshaft. Firstly, move the crankshaft to the front side and set the dial graduation on 0 point. Secondly, move it to the rear side and read the dial graduation. This value is the thrust clearance. Refer to the value of thrust clearance as you are watching in the video. I'll explain the measuring procedure of crankshaft deflection when overhauling the main bearing or when running the engine every 2,000 to 2,500 hours. If the crankshaft deflection enlarges excessively, the crankshaft may be broken and may result in an accident. Consequently, periodically measure the crankshaft deflection. Measure it when the engine is cold. Measure the deflection by the exclusive tool. Open the pressure indicator cocks of all cylinders. Turn the flywheel to bring the crank pin to the position EB of 30 degrees after the BDC. EB is the exhaust bottom and the position of measuring reference. In this condition, fit the deflection gauge and set the needle of dial gauge in 0 indication. Slowly turn the flywheel in the rotational direction of the engine. Measure and record readings of the dial gauge in order of exhaust side, top, pump side, and pump side bottom. If necessary, read the needle of dial gauge by the deflection mirror. Measure in all cylinders and the work will be completed. The relation between the deflection value at each measured point with reference taken at the first point and the crankshaft is as shown. Allowable value of the deflection is as you are watching in the video. If the deflection increases every measurement and it exceeds allowable value, check the main bearing metal and correct the deflection. Since the deflection value measured under the hot state of the engine varies as depending on the temperature existing at the measurement, it cannot be relied on as the reference. Measure the crankshaft deflection when the engine is cold. I'll explain the overhaul procedure of fuel injection pump. Handle the fuel injection pump with care because it has been made precisely in order to display a combustion and governor performance. Prepare the exclusive tool to overhaul the engine. Firstly, remove the relative pipes. Secondly, loosen the bolt of delivery valve. Thirdly, loosen the tightening nut of fuel injection pump with the exclusive socket wrench. Detach the supporting nut of fuel rack and then remove the pump. I'll explain the disassembly procedure of fuel injection pump. Disassemble the fuel injection pump as you are watching in the video. Prepare the exclusive tool to overhaul the fuel injection pump. Turn the fuel injection pump to 180 degrees on the table and set the exclusive tool to draw out the plunger guide on the rear side of flung in the fuel injection pump body. Turn the support bolt of exclusive tool to clockwise and hold the plunger guide. Remove the circlip for stopper of plunger guide while holding it. Rise the plunger guide by the spring force when turning the support bolt of tool to counterclockwise. After detaching tool, it is possible to remove the plunger guide, spring sheet, plunger, spring, retainer, and pinion together. Detach the rack lock bolt and remove the rack. Remove the deflector which is set to the center of fuel injection pump. There are two deflectors. Next, detach the support bolt of delivery valve with the hexagonal wrench and remove the delivery valve and square ring. Be careful not to lose parts of delivery valve because they are too small. Finally, detach the bolt of barrel holder and remove the barrel from the pump body. O-ring is equipped at the barrel position of fuel injection pump, so make sure to remove it. The overhaul of fuel injection pump will be completed. Wash the disassembled parts and check for abnormality. Be careful not to damage it during washing. After checking, reassemble it with the necessary parts replacement. Replace all O-rings. Reassemble the fuel injection pump in inverse order for disassembly. Assemble the barrel body. Tighten the bolts of barrel guard and of delivery valve evenly in 3 steps by the specified torque. Furthermore, install the deflector on both sides. Align the set marks of rack, pinion, and plunger. Pay attention for the set marks and then assemble them. Equip the rack and fit the stopper bolt of rack. Turn the pump 180 degrees and install the pinion on the fuel injection pump. At this time, make sure to align the set mark of rack and of pinion. Insert the spring and retainer. Next, insert the plunger. Make sure to align the set mark of pinion and plunger. After applying lube oil on the outside of plunger guide, temporarily insert it into the fuel injection pump. Set the inserting tool of plunger guide. In the same procedure as drawing out plunger guide, turn the pushing bolt of exclusive tool to clockwise and push the plunger guide. And then install the retainer and fix the plunger guide. Align the retainer cut with body notch and the assembly will be completed. After assembly, check if the rack moves smoothly. Install the fuel injection pump to the engine body with the tightening nut. Return each pipe to its original condition. After the procedure, check for timing of fuel injection and bleed air. Check the injection timing as the following procedure. Turn the flywheel and align the marked off line on the body of fuel injection pump with it on the plunger guide. The scale graduation pointed out by the flywheel pointer at this time indicates the fuel injection timing. And also, overhaul the pump bracket including tappet and roller once per 8,000 to 10,000 hours. I'll explain the overhaul procedure of air cooler every 4,000 to 5,000 hours. This engine is a unit structure of air cooler and turbocharger table. The core of air cooler is cylindrical type and it is equipped with 2 cores. It is a feature which is possible to draw out only core to both sides during maintenance. Firstly, detach the cooling water pipe at the inlet and outlet of cooling water and bypass valve. Furthermore, remove the tank and O-ring at both sides. When washing the tube of cooling water side, brush the tube with a long handle brush. When washing the fin of air side, push and draw out the core. Wash the detached core. Clean the fin on the air side with steam or cleaning fluid. After that, blow the compressed air and finally wash it by water. Check the coating in the inner surface of the boost air duct and of its tank. If the coating has peeled off, repair it. Check for clogging of drain hole. Reassemble the air cooler in inverse order for disassembly. Replace all packing and O-rings. Make sure to set the water return board. Align the stamp mark O of cooler core with the set mark of body when installing the cooler core. Open the side panel of camshaft and swing arm. Check it with view check. Check for flaws, abnormality, and abrasion. I'll explain the maintenance procedure of lube oil pump. Firstly, disconnect the suction pipe from the lube oil pump and then remove the pump. Remove the pump driver gear, cover, and pump gear from the detached pump of lube oil. After disassembly, check the parts. Firstly, check for abnormal contact and abrasion on tooth surface of pump gear. Check for flaws and seizure on side of pump gear. Check for seizure and abnormal abrasion on pump gear shaft and gear bush. Check for the contact of drive gear. Reassemble the lube oil pump in inverse order for disassembly. I'll explain the maintenance procedure of cooling water pump. Prepare the exclusive tool for overhaul. Firstly, loosen the impeller of cooling water pump and remove the pump from the engine body. The tightening nut of impeller is the reverse screw, so turn it clockwise when loosening. And also, the method to assemble the impeller and shaft is the screw tightening style. Loosen it by turning the exclusive tool clockwise. Disassemble the removed cooling water pump. Turn the impeller clockwise and remove it. Remove the tightening nut of gear, and ball bearing in order. We, Yanmar and Yanmar Engineering, contribute to the safety service of clients as the keyword global, speed, and challenged. Please watch this video and do the daily maintenance and overhaul to continue a comfortable navigation for a long time.